I'm going to go on to talk about something else, rather than the question of being abused.
As you can see, is that he is not.
Yahyah wants to kidnap this audience,
and he won't.
Because Yahyah, if he goes over there and stands, no one will listen to him. So the only way that people like Yahyah can get an audience is to try and kidnap someone else's audience. But we're not going to let that happen today.
Was he trying to
Ladies and gentlemen,
trying to equal the abuse of some who called Islamic to the church, which the scale is
apparently there are different kinds of abuse, and if you abuse children as a Muslim, it's not as bad as abusing children in the church. Let's be clear. Out of the two of us, only one of us follows a prophet that abused a child, and that's Yahyah, because his prophet married a 6-year-old girl and had sex with her when she was 9 years old.
I have a video.
9 years old, ladies and gentlemen. And that is why in Iraq, ladies and gentlemen, they are lowering the age of marriage to 9 years of age.
You can see how loud he can bark.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is something that we should rightly condemn.
You can hear him,
ladies and gentlemen.
5 miles away.
Let me ask you this question.
Because he doesn't.
Put your hand up if you think that we should be allowing 9-year-olds to marry. Nobody except Yahyah, who has put his hand up.
Aisha.
And that's the problem of having a prophet that married a child, is that what it does is that it legitimizes, ladies and gentlemen, the abuse of children. And that's why Yahyah is now trying to justify the Muslim abuse of children.
I don't justify.
He's trying to argue that in some way, the church's abuse of children is worse than that of the Muslim grooming gangs. I'm here to say that they are all wrong, and that they should all be condemned. There you go. He married her. Yahyah, are you proud that your prophet married a child? Yes or no?
She's not a child.
Are you? There you go. How old was she, Yahyah? How old? 6 years old. He's lying to you, ladies and gentlemen.
According to the criteria of the Quran.
The hadiths that Yahyah believes in say that Muhammad married Aisha when she was 6 years old and had sex with her when she was 9 years old, ladies and gentlemen.
Any hadith contradicts the Quran, it's false hadith.
So, there you go.
A 6 years old, she cannot bear to sleep with 54.
So let me show you that the Quran justifies marrying prepubescent children.
You're shouting, man. You're shouting.
Let me show you where the Quran justifies marrying prepubescent children.
He doesn't want to listen. Quran, give the criteria of the marriage. She should be physically and mentally able to be wise at least, and she can shut up.
You're trying to kidnap this, Yahyah.
No, I don't kidnap.
Yes, you are.
Everybody.
No one invited you in.
No, I was standing here, but you don't.
No one invited you in.
While your church in Canada and
right, ladies and gentlemen,
and Italy.
Here is where the Quran justifies marrying prepubescent children. Are you listening?
Read it.
Listen. Surah 65, Ayah 4. Right. Such of your women as have passed the age of monthly courses. Who's that referring to? Women who no longer have monthly periods. Who's that referring to? It's referring to women that have gone into the menopause. Then it goes on to say, the prescribed period, if you have any doubt, is 3 months. This is called the waiting period. It's the period between one marriage ending and the next marriage beginning, ladies and gentlemen. It goes on. And for those who have no courses, no monthly periods, who is included in that category? Prepubescent children. In other words, the Quran sanctions marrying prepubescent children. I have a message for every Muslim that is better than their prophet. For every Muslim who is better than their unholy book. There is a better way. It's the way of the Christians. Why, ladies and gentlemen, is Christianity better? Because Christianity nowhere in Scripture justifies the idea of marrying prepubescent children. Nowhere.
Yeah.
It does
alternatively,
what it does command, our Lord commands that we should protect children. Yeah. And that those that cause children to stumble, like the vicars that abused this poor man, that it is better for them for a rock to be tied around their neck and for them to be thrown into the sea. Because before God, every child has a guardian angel who stands before God. And so by the scriptural injunction of our Lord, Muhammad is condemned. He is condemned for his abuse of Aisha. Aisha, who on her wedding day was playing with her toys.
Really?
Ladies and gentlemen. Really? Go on. No, because he's trying to hijack my... He's trying to hijack. He's trying to hijack. And I'll debate you. You come and debate. No, I'll debate you. You come and debate. No, you come and debate. Are you sympathetic to marrying children? Do you agree with marrying children? Answer the question. Do you agree with marrying children? So do you condemn Muhammad for marrying a child?
He didn't marry a child.
Did Muhammad marry Aisha? How old was she when they got married? Liar! Show me your hadith. Show me your hadith. Show me your hadith.
By the way,
let's go back.
Aisha was engaged to before the Prophet. He married her. No, not 60 of age. No.
In Sahih Bukhari 5134, Aisha reports. So this is a Muslim hadith. Aisha reports that Muhammad married her when she was 6 years old and consummated the marriage when she was 9 years old. Do you say Sahih al-Bukhari was wrong? So there we go. Muslims chucking the hadiths under the bus, ladies and gentlemen.
According to Bukhari, he came 195 years after Prophet death. And
exactly.
Narrated 2,000 hadiths about the Prophet.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, why is it a problem that Muhammad had sex with a child and married a child? I'll tell you why it's a problem. Because right now, in Iraq, they are lowering the age of marriage to 9 years old.
I guess he was abused by the church.
Do you condemn Iraq? Do you condemn Iraq for lowering the age of consent?
talking. We have been talking about that.
Now notice how triggered the Muslims are. And rightly so. They should be embarrassed by their prophet because their prophet acted like a paedophile. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a better way for all of those Muslims in Iraq who don't want to marry children. You can become Christians. You can become followers of the church. The church, ladies and gentlemen, that does not define where adult begins. It says that we can learn, ladies and gentlemen, from the experts. And because the experts who study child development have demonstrated that 6-year-olds cannot consent to marriage because they don't have the frontal lobe development. In other words, they don't have the capacity for long-term thinking.
Exactly.
That's why children
that
can't consent to marriage.
exactly
And that's why when Muhammad in the nikah, it recorded by Aisha in Sahih al-Bukhari, said that Muhammad married me when I was 6. That was child abuse, ladies and gentlemen. That was child abuse. Yes, sir, go on.
Do you know what I mean when I talk about thigh?
Yes.
Could you explain it to me?
Yes. So let's talk about thigh. So before Muhammad raped his 9-year-old child bride,
he didn't rape her.
before that age, he married her. At 6. At 6. He married her. He married her at 6.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen. And he had sex with her at 9. Not according to me, but according to Sahih al-Bukhari, who said that Aisha herself said that Muhammad married me when I was 6 and had sex with me when I was 9. That is what the Muslim sources say. And they said it because the Quran says that you can marry prepubescent children, ladies and gentlemen. And why could Muhammad marry a 6-year-old child? Because her father consented. Not herself, but because her father consented to the marriage. But before he consummated the marriage, Muhammad was in the practice of thigh-ing his bride. Let me explain what thigh-ing is. It is when you take your male member, your phalanx, and you place it between the thighs of the child and you rub it gently against her vagina. And Muhammad thighed his bride, Aisha, before he consummated that marriage. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to find the hadith so we can read it to everybody?
I'll tell you what.
Can you try?
I haven't got it on.
Can you look on Google? Try and find it on Google, bro.
I'll say something. I want to add to it, and I'm on your side, right? Muhammad was not a prophet; he was a paedophile. And the reason there is child molestation today in Islam is because of its founder. I'll tell you where it's very big today, in Yemen. Lots of it goes on in Yemen.
And Iraq.
It's a Shia
and Afghanistan. And Syria.
Devilish practice that exposes the true spirit behind Islam.
And Somalia.
I don't know if you've mentioned it.
Well, no, because I wanted to do a talk and everyone's jumping in on the talk that I wanted to do. Brother, help me by finding the hadith about thigh-ing. That's how you can help me. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've read it. Ladies and gentlemen, would you like, go on? Yes, of course. Come in and respond.
You're talking about something that occurred 1,400 years ago.
Correct.
Okay? Society was different, all right?
Yes.
We had norms going on for the society.
Yes.
The norms were the same in Europe, in Africa, in Asia. This is what the society was like. People did not get married through love. No, they had arranged marriages. And this is an arranged marriage. Everybody knew that. It's not something that he was doing on his own. This is the norm.
How old was she when the arranged marriage occurred?
Whatever it is,
the hadiths are very clear.
Whatever it is, this is the norm. This is the norm of
Sahih
the society.
Bukhari.
This is the norm of the society that she was living in.
Can I reply?
This is the norm.
Can I reply?
This is not something that's extraordinary that he did. No.
Can I reply?
This is the way it was.
Can I reply?
Okay.
Do you believe?
Right.
I'm guessing you're a Muslim.
Yes.
Do you believe that Muhammad is an example to all of us here today?
Yes. Yes.
In all of his conduct,
Yes.
including in his marriage to a child?
He was a child.
Including in his marriage to a child? Answer that question.
The problem is that you define him as a child, but that's not the way it is.
Well, how would you define a 6-year-old?
Today, yeah, a child. But,
Well, 1,400 years ago, not a child.
we don't know. We don't know.
No, we do know.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do know.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do
No,
know.
we don't know. Because
Shall I
they are
explain
different.
why we know?
Because, I tell you why.
Shall I explain why we know?
Let me tell you.
Yeah, I will. I'll let him finish, and then I'll explain why we know Aisha was a child.
Because the development, the people are not the same. The developmental
the Quran talk about women, not minors. Besides,
because
the Quran,
when is
Right, ladies and gentlemen,
the Quran,
here's why we know Aisha was not a child. Ladies and gentlemen, the Muslims try to argue that 1,400 years ago, children developed differently in the past
right?
No,
because of the heat. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, he says, yes. It is utter rubbish. Ladies and gentlemen, biology for human beings is driven the same everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. And 6-year-old children do not have the frontal lobes for long-sighted decisions. That is a biological fact today, and it was a biological fact 1,400 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. The logic of the Muslim apologist for Muhammad's rape and abuse of a child is that because Aisha had her period. That's the argument. At 9, this is called precocious puberty, I believe is the medical term. It's a malfunctioning body that starts to release eggs early. But, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't follow that the hips have widened to have a child, or that the frontal lobes have developed as an adult, and as such, even this "if you bleed, you can breed" mentality demonstrates itself to be backward, barbaric, and savage. Where exactly am I reading? Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me just record to you. Right.
3 miles away you can.
Where is this from? I need the source.
Just above it. Just scroll down.
Source, musical.
Chapter 5, verse number 4. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, test the orphan ability to receive
Yeah, but it doesn't give a source.
So they need
I'm going to read.
and you cannot
I'm going to read an Islamic source, but I confess that the person that found it for me hasn't found it with its origin. But these are the words you can research yourself. That is why Muhammad placed his male member between her thighs and massaged it softly, as the apostle of Allah had control of his male member, not like other believers. That's what the Islamic sources say about Muhammad placing his penis between the thighs of a prepubescent child. Could you find the source? Click on the link, see what it says. Now, ladies and gentlemen, many Muslims find this shocking, and I applaud them for doing so, because it shows that you have a good conscience. And that's the reason why Yahyah is trying to argue against it, because Yahyah doesn't want to believe in the Prophet of Islam.
I believe
Yahyah wants to believe.
Between 16 and
Yahyah
19,
wants to believe.
She was
Google Translate, copy paste Google Translate.
As a prophet, and she
Yahyah wants to believe in a prophet of his own invention. Not the prophet of the Quran, not the prophet of the Hadiths, not the prophet of Ibn Kathir, not the prophet of Tamidi, not the prophet of Bukhari, not the prophet of Imam Muslim. No, Yahyah wants to believe in the prophet of Yahyah. And I want to say I prefer the prophet of Yahyah than the prophet of Imam Muslim, or the prophet of Bukhari, or the prophet. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read to you a fatwa. Put your hand up if you know what a fatwa is. A fatwa is a legal opinion of an Islamic qadi, an Islamic judge. And this is what a fatwa says about the abuse of children in Islam. The inquirer asks, my parents married me to a young girl who hasn't yet reached puberty. Everybody shout, hasn't yet reached puberty. Try it again. Everybody shout, hasn't yet reached puberty.
Haven't yet reached puberty.
How can I enjoy her sexually is the question. That's your first problem. The thought that you could even try to enjoy a prepubescent child sexually. This is a Muslim asking a Muslim judge about enjoying a prepubescent child sexually. This is the Imam's answer. Do not harm her if she cannot take intercourse, but you may hug her, kiss her, and ejaculate between her legs. That is the opinion of a Muslim judge about enjoying a prepubescent child sexually, ladies and gentlemen. And that's from, here's the source, islamweb.net, fatwa 23672, ladies and gentlemen.
I got certain inquiry here as well, some sources here. I scroll down so you can see where it's highlighted.
Where? Which one?
I don't know if this is helpful, but
Right.
I don't know if that's helpful.
In volume 1, book 6, number 298, it says, the Prophet and I used to take a bath from a single pot while we were junub. During the menses, he used to order me to put on an izar, a dress worn below the waist, and used to fondle me while in itikaf. He used to bring his head near me and I would wash it. I used to be in my periods. Now, bearing in mind that Muslims believe that Aisha started her periods at 9, that means that Muhammad could have been doing this from any age of 9 upwards, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, in Iraq, these beliefs have real consequences. It is out of this milieu that the abuse of children in the north of England emerged. It is out of this teaching that the lowering of the age of marriage in Iraq is occurring, in Iran is occurring, in Yemen is occurring, in Afghanistan is occurring, in Somalia is occurring. It is not a coincidence that when the rest of the world is raising the age of consent, the only place that is lowering the age of consent is the Islamic world, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to make this appeal. If you disagree with that, you must stand against Islam. Because if you don't stand against Islam, ladies and gentlemen, then you are silent whilst there are forces that want to sexualize children and make it legal to marry them. And we Christians have opposed this for millennia. Even in the 7th century, before the 7th century, in the 5th century, the Byzantine Empire raised the age of consent to 12. Raised it in the 5th century, 2 centuries before Muhammad sanctioned the raping of children, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the reason why Yahyah wants to say that Aisha was not 6 and 9 is because he is ashamed of Islamic sources. He is ashamed of the Hadith. He is ashamed of the Quran. And he should be. They are shameful. But I've got a better way for Yahyah. I've got a better way for all those Iraqi Muslims who disagree with their government. Abandon Islam and follow Christ. Das Volk! Das Volk! Das Volk! Christ is King! Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go over there now and do another talk. If you would like to listen to Yahyah's response, you can stay here. If you'd like to listen to me, I'm going to move.